So this is what we find. This is how I left it yesterday, after having good old Yvon help me do some carrying around. He showed up towards the end of the day, but in the beginning of the day I had done quite a lot of, I redid quite a lot, because in the last video I think we saw that I'd got it up to 6 courses up, so I was ready for the window height, and I was really pleased with myself. But then I learned a lot more about twisting and bending and bowing, because I hadn't really paid enough attention to something that the lovely Lee Edmond told me. And up at this end of the construction, this end wall was all a little bit random, and this was revealed mostly by looking closely at this end. And what it was that if you have a log that is showing rings like that, then that makes it much more likely to twist if it's coming off a narrow tree or the middle of a tree. And what you then have to do is you have to make sure that you balance it with one that wants to twist the other way. So that's the central one, and that's one going that way, and that's one going in the middle, and that one's going that way, because the twists mean that, so here for example this one is still a bit twisted, so you can see that there's a bit of a gap in there because the twists makes them uninclined to properly all bed in. But now you can see that the ends are all as flush as can, well, not these short ones, because they're really only temporarily in place. But so that's twisting, and it's a pain because it means that your ends aren't flush, and it needs a bit of forcing. And in fact, I've now been informed it needs a clamp. You can use a clamp to untwist for the positioning purposes. And then there's bending, and then there's bowing. Now there's no bending. Whoa, I can't stand up. There's no bending visible in this, but there is a bit of bowing. If you look down at the end there, that log second from the one up, which again it's not really a fixed one because we're not yet ready to windows, you can see that there's a bit of a higher gap there. Now then at the end here you can see that, I mean, this very top one, there's a bit of a gap. There's a bit of a gap there, so that one's not properly down. But you can see that all of these are all beautifully bedded in and the right sort of gaps. And indeed at the other end they're all, I mean the top one, a bit of a gap because it's not weighted down yet, but these pegs and these tongues and grooves are all fitting in nicely. But this middle one isn't. So it's fitting in nicely where my finger is here, then it's not quite fitting in all the way up here, and it's fitting in nicely when we get round to this end. So basically that's not a problem, that's bowed, and it just needs a bit of a punching and a bit of weight on the top of it. So that's twisting and bowing, and of course you don't see any bending, because when you first put them in you can get them, if they won't go in, if the tongues and grooves won't go in properly at both ends, then it's because there's a bend down the length of it, and you can easily fix that by simply walking down to the middle of it, giving it a good wobble and a bit of a thump with something like this, which for reasons, historical reasons dating back to pre-Live Aid, this is called a larrupter, and you can give it gentle knocks without doing any damage. So yesterday I wound up stripping down quite a lot of the work I had done and rebuilding it more tidily, which gave me a great deal of pleasure, and also sorted out piles of things so that I could properly tarpaulin them up. So that tarpaulin's not going to shift, that tarpaulin's not going to shift, and because there's now more material up, it's a bit easier to tarpaulin this, because it's about to rain pretty much solidly for the next 3 days. So that's one of the jobs I'm going to do here. But the other job I was able to do was, good old Yvon showed up and he brought his muscles with him, and I was able to get him and I to carry the first window up, which is over there. And we even screwed the first handle onto the first window. Now they are fearsomely heavy and very well made, and they actually will bring weight and strength to what's going on, and they're quite simple really. Whoops, this is not a very tidy building site. What we have is the window has slots all the way around, which are the thickness of, guess what, wall logs. And so that log, which actually is, as I say, a temporarily, that little log is a temporary log, because my next step will be to mark, where's my finger, mark on there and there, and then get somebody with some help to lift up the whole shooting match and sit it down on there, and then start sliding the short logs down as I build. Where is the camera on here? Yeah, as I rebuild this end with using the short logs over there to go up, and then I'll put that pile of 11 short logs into that slot there, and then I'll go down to the garage and get another window and put that on there, and then I'll put those short logs onto that end here. So this is what we find. This is another thing which is a bit strange. It's built as a cabin as an extension. There really is no physical linkage between the cabin and the extension for a very long time in the process. So you can see I've got this horrible thing here, and when I've got two windows in and a pile there, this is still going to be wobbling around, but not do that too much, and this is still going to be a bit skewed. Where am I? It's still going to be a bit skewed because I need to do some jacking up there, and B, they need all tying together. This here gap, of course, is the doorway, and that's the other thing I learned yesterday. Underneath that tarp are 4 pieces which are very complicated and quite expensive and very heavy, and I've got to put that into a door frame, and that will fit exactly in the same way down in between those logs. There are also some brackets which actually do the business and pull. See, this one's not right, this one's slightly too hanging over, that one needs a bit of a bash. Anyway, I've only come up to do some office work really. I've got lots of pots of nails and screws and things, and I'm going to put them all in proper places, and I'm going to make sure that looking through my window, that end is properly topped up, and then I'm going to go back and limp back, because I'm still limping rather badly, and tuck up for the day to heal my back, and then funeral tomorrow, and then it's going to chuck it down on Saturday, so there may not be much activity here now for about 3 or 4 days, so that's why I've come up to make it secure. Thank you for your attention. This was a long video.